So, how has your weekend been?
Uh it's been slow. Let's put it that way. It's been a slow weekend. So
Hmm.
um doesn't seem like there's a lot of entertaining things to watch at the moment. Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the Premier League to start.
Yeah, for sure. I'm
How about you?
definitely over trying to set up. I need to get better about setting up the title of the stream for the week.
Yeah, I used to never remember to do that on beforehand either.
Yeah. I mean, even on Twitch. So we stream these on Twitch whenever
Yeah.
Luke feels like it.
The schedule. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I can leave the title the same. I put it as Football Yanks off season nonsense last week, so that can remain this week. Um, my weekend. We went out to dinner on Friday, and so there's a big art festival in Baltimore every year called Artscape.
Right.
And the restaurant that we booked our dinner at was right by Artscape.
It wasn't Alma Casino, was it?
It was. It was
Yeah, I
indeed.
tried that on Artscape last year. Just ended up missing the reservation, canceling it, never going back because I couldn't
Yeah.
find parking, and then I couldn't find parking after the actual event I was going to because they closed every street and then put a demilitarized zone around certain
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
literally can't get in and out. So
Yeah.
almost stranded Jess in the middle of the DMZ. But yeah, it doesn't seem like the most well orchestrated thing.
You were with Jess during Artscape last year?
Well,
So
we weren't. It was like we were going on a date.
okay.
What's the? It wasn't Meyerhoff, but it was I don't know, one of the venues down there. It was the theater. I forget what the theater's called, but
I don't know.
anyways, yeah, I dealt with that last year, and I got pretty frustrated.
Yeah. So that was frustrating. And on top of that, so we um we made a reservation. The restaurant was good about God, I look like hell. I'm looking at myself on the video feed and I'm like, I look fucking toast. Like I look like an absolute zombie. Sorry everyone.
I don't think anyone's expectations were that high for us, but
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sorry about my like general outlook on life this week. Like I'm just sorry.
I think people rely on Luke for the senseless optimism on this
Yeah.
podcast, not either one of us assholes, but
Yeah. Maybe if I move this camera here. I don't
just
know.
change everybody's perspective on you.
Well, I just am so that I'm not like looking down. Yeah, anyway, so we tried to go down there. We tried to go to Alma Casino and failed. Well, no, we didn't fail. We went. And then like right as we arrived, so we realized that we could not park there as you
Right.
did last year. And so we had to get out and walk a considerable distance, and it was like as soon as we started walking, just downpour. I don't know if
Nice.
there was
Yeah.
a lot of rain on Friday, and there was a lot of rain last night, I guess. And so yeah, we got drenched, and then we ate dinner, and then when we were about to leave, it just started downpouring again. Like I should have recorded it. It was the streets were like a river.
Yeah.
I've not seen anything like it for quite a while. And that was just the like amuse bouche for whatever happened last night. So we left the city to go to God, my camera is driving me crazy today. We left the city to go to DC to hang out with some of Shannon's friends last night, or the DC
Well, there's
area.
the first mistake is having friends that live in DC.
Yeah. True. And somehow we didn't even drive through whatever hit Hamden, this area. I don't know if it was as bad in Canton, but
it was pretty bad. Yeah, it was
yeah,
pretty bad.
Hamden is a war zone. It
Yeah.
it is there is debris everywhere. There are downed trees everywhere. I read somewhere that citywide there are like 180 something road closures because of downed trees. But we weren't here. Like we drove from here to DC, did not drive through a storm, and then we just started getting all these alerts that like power was out. My like like all my like smart devices at the house were failing, and we were like, well, they'll probably sort that out, and then yeah, hopefully they'll sort that out before we get back. And then we got back here at like 10:30, 11, and still no power. And because we had left, like my both of our smart thermostats, they had long been off like before the power went out.
Yeah.
So I mean, our homes were just furnaces, and so I slept like hell. I had like crazy dreams. I was up like every hour. I was basically like 1 hour sleep, 1 hour awake, just sweating and feeling awful. And then we woke up and it said that for some people, I don't know if this is still the case, but they were saying that, so we're recording this on Sunday. It's 3 p.m. On the East Coast right now. They were saying that 80% of customers would get their power back by 11 p.m. tonight, and the remaining would get it by 11 p.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
And there's a section of Hamden I was reading that utility workers came out, and there was just downed live wire in the middle of the road, and they put like red tape around that and said it could be weeks before they can fix this, and then they left. They like said that to people that were standing around, hoping that they would get power. And I think Levi is affected by that particular piece of the outage. So anyway, I didn't get to see what happened here, but because we were like outside we were in Tacoma Park or whatever the hell it's called. But yeah, seems bad. Seems like Baltimore's in shambles.
But if you believe in such magic as global warming, these types of storms are becoming more commonplace. So
I don't believe in that.
Compounded by the fact that if you also believe we've underinvested in infrastructure in this country, which is also hard to fathom, kind of compounds the issue.
Yep. Yeah. Well, hopefully, I just like I can't help but feel that a storm like that wouldn't happen in Trump's America. So
I'm really rich.
Yeah. Project, I'm sure that's in scope for Project 2025.
Yeah, Project 2025, no storms. No more storms. Yeah, I realized it kind of funny you bring up global warming. Last night I realized that, so it's one of Shannon's, we were hanging out with one of Shannon's friends from running and her husband, and they invited a bunch of people over that we didn't know, like they're friends from, like they do like rock climbing stuff, and so they had their rock climbing crew over. They were all pretty cool people, but Adam, her husband, Shannon's friend's husband, Adam, collects oddities, which is, it is, he has like shrunken heads and human skulls. It's like a museum in their house.
I wasn't sure if that's code for hoarding or there was an actual, but this sounds like this is maybe worse than that.
Worse in ways. So when they describe this to me, I imagine they're just being like shit everywhere. Yeah. They have it.
That's all in glass like, cases and stuff.
Yeah, it's like tastefully set up. Yeah. It is really weird.
Walk you through my gallery of horrors.
Yeah, it is. It was really bizarre. But he has this like woolly rhinoceros skull, and he said something like, "This was the third time I have ever hung out with Adam." and he said something like, "This used to be rare, but because of global warming and the like ice caps are melting, they're finding more and more of these, so this isn't even that special anymore." And I said, "Well, I don't believe in any of that." and
Typical deadpan.
I don't think he actually I don't think got that I was joking.
He didn't know that 95% of the things that come out of our mouths are sarcasm,
just complete
just
nonsense.
Lies.
Yeah, but and then somebody else was talking to me later, and he, I think, was commenting on the storms and said something about global warming, and I opted to not make the joke, and so I determined that my global warming, I don't believe in global warming jokes come out somewhere between 0 times and 3 times having hung out with someone. You see what I'm saying? Like, so brand new to Ryan, I'm not coming in hot with the I don't believe in global warming, but 3 times I'll do it. Like then I'm
the
like,
problem is after 3 times they don't know that you're completely full of shit yet, so it's not really the right cutoff. Maybe after 10 times they know that you're embellishing a little bit. But.
Yeah, you better be on the treadmill by interaction number 3, or not good. Like, we're just not going to get along.
It is a steep curve. I can appreciate that aspect.
Yeah, some would call it a cliff. I
wasn't going to put it that way. But there's a cliff on the other side of it too. Now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. So not a lot going on. I guess we could talk about the Olympics, where we are kind of sort of like everyone in a holding pattern for real soccer to come back. We can talk about the Chelsea game. We finally got power. I was way behind. I've not made a lot of notes for today, so we're gonna have to sort of wing it here. But what did you want to tackle first?
I want to talk about cheating.
No Luke today, by the way. I apologize.
Spoiler alert, in case you haven't picked up on it.
Yeah, he's in the Midwest again.
That's as much as we know.
Not sure why
we were given.
Yeah, he spent seemingly the whole summer there, or Vermont. But yeah, let's get into cheating. What did you want to talk about, Man City? Or
well, it's funny you mentioned Man City, right? That wasn't what actually stoked my memory of this, but they're front and center, right? I don't know whether you need to mention them by name or not. I'll leave that up to you. But, one of our friends, I think you've mentioned in this podcast, seems to root for every one of these cheating franchises.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be excluding Canada, because who gives a shit about Canada? But he, in the news today was that Michigan football is about to be sanctioned again. A different coach. You remember Harbaugh left to go to the Chargers, I guess, because he knew that, like, basically he was so guilty that everybody was going to have to go down with him. So he left town to go make bank in the NFL after he did his damage. But, whether it's the Patriots, Man City, Michigan football, I've noticed a pattern here. And granted, those are great teams and great, in terms of storied in terms of their accomplishments, but man, a lot of it's almost like there's this apathy around City as an example, right? Like I don't see like it maybe the fans are behind this, that like they didn't cheat, they didn't do anything wrong, but I see the same thing of like Michigan football, like they won a national championship, but in no way does it seem like anyone feels like it's tainted by the fact that they were cheating for, I don't know, numerous years before that. So yeah, I don't know. Like, it seems like every day there's something new, and it's topical to our podcast, given the reaction I saw from Canada, in particular, the players who, I get the sentiment of feeling like they weren't the ones making the decisions to cheat necessarily, but
by the way, they got out. They advanced, right? I predicted that they would not.
This us against the world mentality, because despite the fact that it was their head coach that was fired, among others, and nobody nobody's really claiming that it didn't happen, just that it wasn't the player's fault. I think it's an interesting perspective to try and sit there and act like cry foul as if they're being persecuted when in fact the team cheated, simply put.
Yeah.
It'd be like me saying Chelsea didn't deserve to have a transfer ban. Like they did. Like they cheated. They were caught and they were rightly punished. But and maybe that's a holier than thou attitude because we weren't facing the types of sanctions City is. But for all these
we
people
also
that come
didn't.
out,
We didn't get to come to that party either. Like like Chelsea was punished for a specific crime. There have been other issues with how Chelsea has run their club, and they have worked through, like, especially with the new ownership. We've talked about that, and they have worked with the leagues and the governing bodies to make amends. And yeah, it's different, one, because of the magnitude of the accusations and the number of the magnitude of the number of accusations, and that preferably we just like these teams just followed the rules. And but I know there's always going to be a certain element of trying to get one up on everyone. And then that usually requires further litigation and additional rules added to the game. But I mean, Man City couldn't look more guilty of something. I don't know what they're guilty of.
Well, I guess it's new since last week, right? That the federation announced penalties for $2 million in fines for coming out late for the beginning of games and for halftime.
Yeah.
Which I guess those ones were pretty easy to evidence. You just look at statistically how many times they came out late, and it was probably every game. So there's been a crackdown with that practice in general. I haven't put too much thought into what sort of advantage you get. I mean, I guess you get a couple more minutes to tweak things tactically in the locker room, but that happened in Copa America too, right? Like Chile's coach was banned, and so was for the same thing. It was kind of interesting. Like both coaches in the same match were banned for the same thing. It was during the group stages. I don't know, or had a one match ban. Anyway, so like City has some other charges that they had to pay up for, or some other rules violations. The like 160 or whatever 55 charges, financial loopholes and shit that they're under investigation for. That's still TBD, right? But yeah. What did you make of Tyler Adams? He was being interviewed and he said something like he said basically everybody does this. What do you make of that? What do you think? I mean, I have my own thoughts on this. I haven't read anything since one of the listeners asked our opinion in the Discord, so I figured maybe we could flesh that out since you brought up cheating. I just assumed that around the same time it kind of came out that it sounds like Jesse Marsh was aware that they were cheating, but like most of it predates him. Who knows if we'll really know the particulars of that. I'm sure that's the reason he's keeping his mouth shut. So part of me wonders if like Tyler Adams is another Jesse Marsh apologist because he enjoyed that tire fire while he was there, which is hard to believe, but or maybe he wants him back. I don't know. But part of me also feels like, I don't know, some of these, I don't know, it's a young team, and some of these guys, Pulisic and Tyler Adams and stuff, they'll say, or McKinney for that matter, they'll say and do things that kind of raise eyebrows from time to time. I don't know if I believe that everybody's doing it. I think he was more so referencing the fact that like, this happens a lot and nobody does anything about it. And it's certainly we talked about the US Federation was aware. So like he has a point to an extent in that like people were aware of this stuff going on and just brushed it under the rug to an extent.
Yeah. Yep. Drones are like that. how many teams do you think are using drones to spy on the other two? Like,
I can't even tell week to week whether teams are actually looking at like physio stats and like life vital signs from like data collection standpoint. So I don't even know if they're looking at drone stuff. I'm sure there's enough teams that have enough money to do it.
yeah,
Especially at the level we're talking about, whether it's the Premier League or international. But it's just it's so much more flippant than having somebody like stroll into a stadium and look around at what's going on at practice. So I don't know that. Usually where there's smoke, there's fire. I haven't seen anything else about, like this many other teams were doing this internationally. I imagine most teams understood that like they would, A, it was cheating, so they shouldn't be doing it. And B, like, if you're going to cheat, this is probably a pretty easy way to get caught because it's pretty hard to conceal a drone flying around if somebody spots it. But
yeah, pretty odd. I don't know that we closed the circle on why we brought up Michigan football. So the same friend who is a Man City fan and a Patriots fan is also a Michigan football fan.
Right.
so yeah.
3 for 3.
Yeah. He likes the Orioles. Is that his baseball team?
Yeah.
So they haven't cheated yet. Although that's probably just due to lack of resources.
Yes. We've changed ownership, so we're on the right track now towards getting to some unsavory acts, hopefully, here soon.
Yeah. Anything else to say on cheating? Do you want to? Have you been watching the Olympics? Nothing will get me to watch the Olympics. I just don't care.
Luckily, the men's shit show. What is it, 4-0 loss, I think, to Morocco. Yeah. Occurred early enough in the morning that I was actually working, so I didn't watch any of it. I mean, the whole U23 thing, and then even beyond that, our player selection to me wasn't optimal, either in terms of our senior exemptions or players just in the U23 pool. There were some bright spots out of a few players, and like to get to the quarterfinals the first time in 24 years or whatever it was. Yeah, I think that is a positive accomplishment. It's tough to put a whole lot of stock in the Olympic format and what it really means. From a women's standpoint, I guess I've been following that more closely because it's the full player pool. First real competitive tournament for Emma Hayes. I'd say they had a pretty mid game against Japan in the first knockout round. I think it was the first time I really saw some holes in Emma's tactics and kind of coaching, and especially in terms of substitution pattern. I think we used one substitution prior to, actually it might have been the first substitution was made after 90 minutes, but anyways, we were lagging way behind on use of substitutes, and whether it was Nice Swallow or anyone else. Granted our top 3 forwards are probably untouchable, but they're just, it was clear that we were a little bit tired in spots, and she pulled the trigger late. But aside from that, I mean, it's still a team that could very well win the Olympics. So, I mean, that's interesting. And, sets us up for future success. And it's the best that team's looked for me in a long time. So that's been exciting to see, and pretty entertaining football in general, even, this game aside.
Yeah. Emma Hayes, her appointment is for sure exciting. I'll have to try to catch some matches, especially with the team finally changing. The changing of the guard has finally like fully happened. So I should maybe invest some more time there. Yeah, I saw that they're still in the tournament, right?
Yep.
The
Yeah, I
women.
forget one of the. I don't know if it's the next game is the semifinal, but yeah, I think it's a semifinal against Germany. Germany beat Canada in PK, so
Oh, I see that. Okay.
proper justice for the non-cheaters.
Speaking of proper justice, hold on, let me make sure this is correct.
We're all about accuracy on this podcast, so fact checking is important.
Yeah, never mind, I'm incorrect.
Oh.
Hold on, maybe I am. Yes, okay. So, yeah, speaking of justice, France beat Argentina in the Olympics. Yeah, 1-0.
Oh man, yeah, that was
I caught that.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you saw the Discord, but apparently, like the vice president of Argentina was like backing Enzo and was like, "I don't see a problem with this." So I felt a little bit vindicated in calling a country a nothing burger of a country on the world stage if they think this is okay. But
yeah, I did see that. They did not. Chelsea did not allow Enzo Fernandez to go to the Olympics, so he's with the Chelsea first team now. So he wasn't there. It's like Julian Alvarez was there though.
At that game.
Yeah. France, man, what a parade of talent that comes out of France. It's crazy. Like,
yeah. Who's it?
Costello Lukiba.
Yves Perisset plays for Chelsea. But that team in general is, again, a very talented national team.
Guillermo Restes is is thought to be a very good keeper, and then Ryan Cherky, he where does he play now? I think Lyon.
Oh, you were talking about the men's Olympic team. I thought.
Yeah. I'm talking about the men's team. Yeah,
I wasn't even paying attention to what else was going on in that bracket. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the French men beat the Argentina men. That's why I was saying like Enzo Fernandez was not there.
Would have been playing. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, pretty cool to see that. I guess I'm sure that felt good for the French players with the weird chants and stuff like that. But. And then we've got, I mean, I guess we could talk about preseason. Chelsea got, I mean, I could only see, because I had no power. I could only see highlights, or only managed to see highlights. It looked like Chelsea statistically, and from what I watched, I'm curious how you feel about this statement, because it sounds like you watched the whole match.
Well,
did you?
Nah, maybe like half of it. I don't know what kind of fan isn't streaming that off of a hotspot to their tablet.
Yeah, the kind that doesn't want Shannon to kill him for not
listen. Let's be clear.
Engaged with her friends.
Let me stop you right there. If you're not dead already, the likelihood of Shannon killing you is probably pretty close.
That's a fair.
We're well past that threshold, I would have thought.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so it statistically, like if you look up where was I looking at? I think who scored from yesterday. Can I pull it up quickly? It did look like Chelsea, like they had more. This is off the top of my head because I didn't pull this up, and I don't see it.
But I mean the goals, a couple of the goals are just bad mistakes or individual errors.
Yep.
But the bigger problem is like in that, like the defense still looks super shaky, and like this is the core pool of defenders, and so it's like,
I forget where I pulled this up. So Chelsea dominated possession, more passes, just off the top of my head, more chances created, more big chances created. But Haaland just like sank all three of his goals when he had the opportunity, and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he had a big game. I would say overall, fairly disappointing performance from Chelsea. Maybe that goes without saying.
Yeah.
But again, on one hand, you're missing some key players. On the other hand, like these are highly compensated, like first team esque, if not direct backups playing. And so you expect more out of him. I
Yeah.
thought that it was still kind of experimental the way he lined up. I think he almost did that on purpose because don't we open the league against City, right?
Yes.
And so I think maybe not playing his first choice 11 had something to do with that to start the game. I think we've looked better with Madueke and Sterling on the field. What half of that equation isn't surprising. The other
Yeah,
half
they
is.
played Mudryk on the right wing, which is, I thought that was interesting. So we have not seen him there yet. I think he played out there in some matches for Shakhtar. Is that where he came from? Or Dynamo Zagreb. I forget which team he came from, but anyway, he played on the right wing, which I think speaks to the system is not, it's not built around inside forwards where you're cutting in and trying to shoot with your off foot. So if you're not, like, if you listen to us for some reason and don't play soccer, like you're gonna have two kinds of wingers, and there's wingers that add width, and usually their strong foot will be to their outside. So like if you're on the right wing, you would be right-footed, and then your goal is to drive the ball up the wing, add width at the wing, and then provide passes into the box, from your outside foot. If you are an inside forward, typically, if you just think about your body mechanics, you would then be left-footed on the right wing, so opposite foot of the wing that you're on, and then you would be cutting inside. And if you think about like positionally how that would work with your body, then you'd be able to drive you'd be able to take a shot with your left foot. So that's, we saw inside forwards in Pochettino's system, and that's why a left-footed right winger in Cole Palmer was so successful in Poch's system. They're talking about Palmer. We have not seen him in the preseason yet, but they're talking about him being centrally in the role that Nkuku and Carney Chukwuemeka have been playing as the furthest forward of the midfielders. They're talking about moving Palmer there, but so moving Mudryk to the other side, to the right wing, which he's we had not yet seen him in that position. That is an indication that we're looking to get width from our wingers, and they're not. I would assess based on that they're not viewed as a. And we kind of talked about this last week, how I said that last season we would have seen Noni take some of these shots, and instead he seems to be looking to make a pass. I don't think that Maresca views wingers as like goal threats. He wants them working the ball into the box and playing a pass into the middle. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that plays into the possession based format he's looking to have, or in terms of more possession being emphasized. I would say you do see some of those things. Madueke for sure, though he did have a great finish yesterday on a breakaway where he honestly could have passed that ball, but
that was a great finish.
Yeah, so saw it was there and took it. Because of his excellent control on the ball. He looks like he's fitting into that role well. Sterling looks like he's fitting into that role well. Mudryk doesn't look like he's there to me.
Yeah,
it's tough to find any positives, to be honest, that go along with the $70 million price.
Yeah, that might be a $70 million mistake at this point.
Yeah,
I think he in particular just doesn't fit this system. So we bought him as this raw talent to be developed, and then we've put him through, this is like his fourth or fifth coach. So like Potter, Frank Lampard, Poch, and now Maresca. So he's on his fourth coach in like 2 seasons, fourth manager, whatever. I think they call them head coaches at Chelsea deliberately because that's all they do. Like they're seen as distinct from the rest of the machine. And yeah, I mean he's and we've talked about this. Like Lampard apparently took a look at Mudryk and was like, this guy's a physical beast, but he just doesn't have a great footballing mind. And if you have a player like that who is physically talented, physically gifted, will put in the work. I think the only way you can make up for the lack of natural tactical, like being able to process deep tactics, is stability in the tactics, which he's not had. so yeah, I don't know. I'm worried. I think we're probably looking at a loan and maybe bringing in another winger, but I don't know who's available. We're not going in for Nico Williams. I suspect that this is partially why Chelsea were, by their own description, obsessed with Elise.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to imagine why you would be obsessed with Elise and it being target number 1. It's hard to imagine that you would then just not pick up another winger. Like there's something about your current complement of players that you don't like.
Yeah, well, it's tough because you don't know. It comes back to the same thing I've been talking about for months. I just don't know how the pieces fit. We won't know until we get there, like whether you can play Jackson and Koku, Palmer, and Madueke together up top, or if that's even what he wants to play with. And Cuckoo he didn't look like the right fit to be the lone striker yesterday. Nor is that probably where he's best fitted. He was very successful in France playing as the second striker. And so, maybe Jackson moves back up top and Cuckoo goes to the left. I don't know, or vice versa. They can switch. It just doesn't seem like we've gotten a good look at anything in preseason because of the people that are missing.
Yeah, so I think you'll see. I don't know. I saw something crazy like Chelsea currently has 41 first team players, and the next closest is something like 30 from.
Yeah, and then people
Man
are
United.
Wondering why we're forcing people out of the team.
Yeah,
math.
Yeah, it's silly the position that Chelsea are in. So yeah, if I think too hard about who could fit in where, I'll get a fucking nosebleed on stream. But like right now, it looks like at least for preseason, they're demoing Chukwuemeka and Nkuku as potential attacking mids. But then in this match, they tried Nkuku as the lone striker. Mark Gui I don't know how you say his last name. I should figure that out before the next episode. He looks great. He looks very, very good. We'll eventually get Jackson back, who I think is with the team but injured. I would say it seems fairly likely at this point that Chelsea will land Osimhen. I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe I'm reading the tea leaves wrong there, but it evidently Conte is obsessed with bringing Lukaku in, and Osimhen is obsessed with leaving Napoli. And it just seems like there's to me, logically, something will get worked out there. Obviously, Osimhen has higher value currently due to his age than Lukaku. But yeah, so then you add him to the mix, and yeah, you could play Nkuku on the left, but Sterling seems to be fairly nailed on there. I mean, he'll need a break here and there. We know Jackson can play out there. I don't know who deputizes Madueke. I think I called that out as a concern last week. He seems to be the only option on the right flank.
Well, that's the whole thing, though, right? Like, who knows if this is just posturing, then Palmer comes back out and plays on the right.
Maybe. Yeah, that could be. But Palmer doesn't, if we go back to what I said earlier, Palmer is not a, like,
Agreed.
yeah, blazing down the wing, adding a lot of width. Like, he likes to float into the middle and cut in and have a go on his left foot. So I don't know that that's the role for him and in Maresca's system anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the defense, I don't know. I can't tell if this is a systemic issue. My only hope is that they're as leaky as Chelsea have been and the individual errors, that's just like teething issues with the new system. But it's hard to say. It doesn't look good. It looks like, I mean, Chelsea's hitting the possession statistics are going to be a big talking point. They are pressing hard,
Yeah.
out of possession, but that is they don't know what to do yet to not leave themselves completely exposed when with those two, like the combination of tactics being employed. It's a very high line, getting everyone involved in on the attack, basically banking on the fact that you'll be able to recover the ball before being countered, and it looks very susceptible. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
I think I saw. It's interesting you mentioned that. One of the themes was I'd say in I don't know if it's Emma Hayes' system as much as just the way the U.S. team sets up is, in Japan was sitting in a low block the whole game. And so you saw the U.S. struggle in counterattacking situations, in particular against Japan. But to your point, right? Like, if you're going to play that way and leave yourself susceptible, like there's teams that can take advantage of that. You've got to be, in those moments, you've got to find a way to recover and lock them down. Chelsea hasn't been able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it does not inspire confidence heading into the season, but we'll see. I mean, it is just preseason, but you'd hope to see more in a preseason where you're working on a new system with a new coach, with, you got a lot of first teamers out there. You would hope to see more of the ideas solidifying. It feels like a more important than average preseason, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Don't even know like what the team will look like. And maybe part of the strategy with right wing is like, I don't know, we've got Esteval, we've got Kendry Paez, who I think he likes to play, at least for Ecuador. He's been more centrally when I've played more in a central role when I've watched him. So, but I think he could also play out right and out left. So you've got those two coming in, and then you still have Angelo Gabriel, who I think just went back out, or maybe it was Andre Santos, just went back out on another attacking midfielder in Santos. I think he's an attacking mid. I shouldn't even say that. I don't know exactly what his best position is, but he went to Strasbourg, so like the sister club for Chelsea, also owned by Bluco. I think both of them are heading back out on loan there. So I mean, there's depth. There's like promising talent in the pipeline for Chelsea, but I don't know what happens this season out on the right, other than Madueke. And then, I mean, last week I read that they were linked, that Madueke had agreed to personal terms with Newcastle, and I'm sure the club isn't interested in that, but yeah. And then there's the Gallagher mess. We could talk about that a little bit. So
it's almost like we paid a bunch of money to bring in Shrewsbury Hall because we know he'll be okay just being a substitute, from what I can tell. With the understanding that we could change Gallagher out for a little bit of profit, but that hasn't really come to fruition.
Yeah.
Also, like, I don't know if you get the same sense, but I don't know if it's like the profile pics I see from the media or what, but Drewsbury Hall constantly looks like he's auditioning for a Clint Eastwood movie for some reason. He doesn't look British at all.
No, he doesn't. I don't want to say he looks odd, but he doesn't look like an EPL player.
Like, I just need to throw one
I know
of
what you're
those
saying.
Western hats on him and give him like a horse and a couple pistols. You know?
I don't know. I only saw him against Club America, which, you know, that team is way below Chelsea, so it was hard to get a sense of anything from that
Other
game.
than we weren't playing well.
At time, I mean, we won 3-0, right, against Club America. But like, yeah, there were times that we didn't look. There were also times where I was like, oh, that's what Maresca ball is, where we really played out of the back. Yeah, maybe like next week we should go through the whole Chelsea squad and like make predictions for what we think happens to them.
You have 2.5 hours free.
Whether they get shipped out or schedule. If their stock goes up or down this season or something, we can come up with a format there. But I can't even keep track of all of it in my head. Like the number of fucking players on this team, it's crazy. But yeah, Drewsbury Hall. I think that the strategy there was the thought was, I don't know. I maybe I'm assigning more. I'm being more charitable to the staff and the ownership at Chelsea than I should be. But to me, if I'm trying to think about it logically, it's like we Chelsea fell, like they hired a new coach and early season it wasn't working because the team wasn't well drilled yet in that system, and they fell behind and never dug themselves out of that hole. But like you could see it all coming together at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And our ownership and head of football or whatever, directors of football, they were like, well, that started to look real good there at the end, but we're gonna just start from square one all over again. And so like Drewsbury Hall, he raises the floor maybe for what's possible for Chelsea this season. He has a lot of history with Maresca. He knows the system. He had played in the PL for a very bad Leicester team, but he had played in the PL just 2 seasons ago. They won in the championship last season. So that was probably the thought, is like, we'll try to not fall so far behind early season, even though we don't think this guy is like a nailed on starter. And then you've got Gallagher, who he is just getting flogged by Chelsea at this point. And I don't know that I blame Chelsea. It's tough to watch happen because I love Conor Gallagher. There is nobody bleeds blue on this team like Gallagher. Yeah. Maybe Reece James, but we never get to see him between red cards and injuries. So, yeah, I mean, Gallagher was born a blue. That's what the Tifu says, and his family are Chelsea fans, and he has been with the Chelsea Academy since he was 7, I think, 6 or 7. I was thinking about this on like a walk this week. Like, has Conor Gallagher ever played a match against Chelsea in his life? Probably not. Like when he was on loan at Palace, he wouldn't have been eligible against Chelsea. So it's a guy who's like basically in an abusive relationship with this club, where he loves it so much, but he's just like letting all this bad shit happen to him. And yeah, I for a while I thought he like didn't want to sign one of these long-term deals, and maybe that was the issue because it would have taken him into his 30s. But the rumor is that he rejected a 3-year contract.
Yeah, I
that
think it was a 2+1, right?
yeah, where the club had the option to extend by a year. And yeah, so 2+1, and it would have matched the wages that Enzo and Caicedo are on. So for a midfielder, he would have been paid, fairly for the team structure. He rejected that. I don't know why. Like, I couldn't find any. There are no leaks as to why he didn't like that setup. There now the thought is that he wants to be, locked up long term with the club that he loves. Chelsea have accepted an offer from Atletico Madrid. I think Gallagher would fucking cook under Simeone. He would. Yeah, Simeone would have him running all over the fucking place. It'd be a match made in heaven, that setup. But Connor doesn't want that, and he's got a year, it seems. He's got a year left on his deal, and the club has said that, like, you either accept this or accept the offer we've tabled for you, or you're going to be banned from the first team facilities. And that's rough. That's rough. It's also business, and I get it. Like, the first thing that happened to these owners when they bought this club is Rudiger and Christensen went on a free, and to two of the best clubs in the world, and Rudiger has gone on and won like 3 Champions Leagues. Like, the club got nothing for those assets, and they had vowed to not let that happen again, and that's what you're seeing here.
Well, and on the other hand, right, like, Gallagher could have just signed the contract, right, and said, I'm going to play through this and earn my spot amongst the crowded midfield. But I imagine to your point, part of it was an apprehension about the long term and securing like that playing time under Chelsea. But I can't. You can't just become a United where you can't move on from any of your players. So, and it's not like City doesn't let players leave either. So I mean, it's not like this is completely unfounded. But yeah, it is tough given what he put on the line for Chelsea last season.
Yeah,
right? Especially for fans.
Yeah. The rumors are that that's part of why. So, I mean, we sort of forget in the way that we talk about Pochettino leaving. The we in this is me and probably others, I think. But that was a mutual termination. Pochettino was not fired. They had a handful of meetings at the end of the season and determined that everybody got along. Everyone felt good about how they, like, what they had achieved, and they were just going to go separate ways. And the rumors from those exchanges were that like, one of Poch's stipulations was that Gallagher could not be sold. And the director of football, there's like a co-director of football set up at Chelsea, Win Stanley and Lawrence Stewart. They do not think, like, they're very data driven, and they do not think that Connor is what they want based on the profile of player that they've gathered statistics on. So yeah, that was apparently a big part. There were like a couple players that that Poch was like, I rely on these guys. And Chalobah, they are flogging him too, and I don't think we lost a game last season that he played in. It was something like, once he came back into the team, we won 8 and drew 2 or something.
And look at the shit show that's ensued in his absence. Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And then there's like the message that all of that sends to players who might sign for the Chelsea Academy.
True. Yeah.
So it's a very, very complicated thing. A lot of drama. I don't know. I get it on both sides. I think Connor's earned the right to do whatever he wants, and he should. It's a business decision on his end as much as it is on the owner's end. So I'm interested in how it resolves. I don't know. Yep. Trying to think of what else we had that we could cover this week.
I did want to give a shout out to it's McKenna Whitman became the youngest American soccer player to make their first top division debut in the NWSL last week, eclipsing Kevon Sullivan's mark from the week before. So she was 14 years in one day, which is crazy. Couple days north of 13. But again, I think it's another, props to her. I think it's a great thing for talent recognition in our youth system. Especially given that I think we were slow to react to the changing of the guard in the women's senior team.
Yep.
And so hopefully pulling up talent at a younger age leads to continued success there. And I think, I imagine given how fucked up our men's youth system is, that the entire youth system's pretty jacked up. And so maybe this is another step in the right direction, if nothing else.
Okay. That's Derek answering the question. If a tree falls on the NWSL, does anyone hear it?
Ryan's gonna spicy me because he hasn't had power all weekend, so we're just gonna go to his list of topics from here on out. Hopefully he gets himself some food and water.
Woo! Yeah, all right. I don't know that I have many topics. I did just see that Nico Williams has decided to stay at Atletico Bilbao, so that's interesting because like Barcelona were trying to, for some reason, pull him in.
Well, it's weird because like the where he was linked, like not, I don't know, like it wouldn't have been a great fit. Like Barcelona is a terrible fit. Maybe that's where he really wants to go, but they can't make moves.
Yep.
I'm
Arsenal.
sure we would gladly swap Sterling, but I don't think that was gonna come to fruition either. So.
Yeah, Arsenal was also loosely linked with him, as like Trossard is getting up there in age. Martinelli needs someone to push him. So I could see it. There's a path there for a talented left-sided winger. So,
especially since Saka's now a right fullback. That's the Gareth Southgate's development.
Yeah.
Need throw another inverted winger on the right side.
Yeah, that was left-sided.
He was playing on the right.
What?
Saka was playing on the right.
I thought they pulled him back to the left because they didn't have left wing backs.
Oh, maybe he was playing there. You're right. There was at least a game where he played there. I guess I'm thinking of one where there was the 3-4-5 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. He did.
Yeah, they played him all over the place because he's a left-footed right winger, right? I think he is.
Well, that sounds right.
Kaya Saka.
I think he scored that goal from right. I think he's playing right fullback though in the game that he scored that game winner late.
Yeah, I can't find. Yeah, he's left-footed. Okay. Yeah, so that was because Southgate didn't bring any alternative to Shaw.
I don't think that's gonna have any foothold in the Arsenal tactics this season. I don't think that's
you don't see him at left wing back.
Yeah,
weird. All right, well, I just don't think you're a creative enough thinker. You're clearly not on Southgate's level. The only other thing that I found pretty interesting, and then I guess we can call it a podcast, is was it Bordeaux?
The club or the wine?
The club.
Oh, okay, I'm considerably less interested in the club.
Yes,
than the
it
wine.
was Bordeaux. Yeah, Bordeaux were relegated to the 4th tier of French football after declaring bankruptcy. So this club, the French league, we haven't talked about this much. I alluded to it when we were talking about, I think Marseille has been like loading up on players somehow. The French league in general is like careening toward financial insolvency across the board. I don't know, have they I'm looking this up. They had, at least as of,
Did they ever get a TV deal?
yeah, so that's what I'm looking at. I don't know. So as of July 11th, the quote is, "We must hope for a miracle," from one of the.
So it says that there's an 11th hour deal worth $540 million.
Oh, okay.
BN and a partner. I don't know who Dazen is, but I recognize BN.
Yeah, so BN doesn't. Yeah, I mean, that's still not a great deal. That's that's not like ESPN, or NBC. They were looking for the type of deal that La Liga, PL, and the Bundesliga have been able to strike, and they did not get that.
Well, if they keep bringing in brand ambassadors like Mason Greenwood, I'm sure they'll be fine in the long term.
Yeah. So we're kind of dancing around the issue. The French league, their TV deal expired this year, which is significant because it's also the season that Kylian Mbappe has announced he's leaving. So, like, by far the biggest draw in the French league has left, and they don't have a tentpole club really anymore in PSG, drawing a lot of eyeballs. Like, they don't, if you think about a couple years ago, PSG were a huge draw. They had Mbappe, they had Messi, they had Neymar. Who else? They had. They were just stacked with. Oh, for a while they had, what's his name, the defender from Real Madrid. I can't believe
Sergio Ramos.
Ramos, yeah, he was there. So they were this Galactico team that drew a lot of attention to that league, and PSG has changed their strategy, I would say, for the better, for the long-term health of the club. They're building around some of their youth. They're being a little more strategic about who they acquire, although they have had some misses. What's his name? The Uruguayan. I'm brain dead today because I didn't sleep last night. God, Ugarte. Ugarte. Yeah. They paid out the nose for, and we know that, you and I, or at least me, because I'm the transfer rumor guy. But Chelsea were minutes away from signing Ugarte, and PSG came in and like backed the Brinks truck up to his house. So they're trying to dump him over to Man United. But anyway, they like Zaire Emery. They've got a very good academy that they're building around their players and setting the club up to have better longevity. But at the same time, that has sort of cratered the global perception of this league, which has not been very competitive either when put into like European the Champions League.
Yeah.
So yeah, as a result of that, despite the fact that France is a hotbed of talent, like we were just talking about with their men's team in the Olympics, how talented that young team is. Despite that, they just don't have a league that is at the level of prestige as some of these other ones. They
export a lot.
Yeah,
and they were on the rise for a while there too, and so some of it comes to who very specific discrete decisions, one of them being Mbappe, right? So many chips were in Mbappe and now he's gone, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's looking at that first team, it's still a very good PSG team. Like, every position has top tier starters and depth.
And they have a great coach in Luis Enrique.
True.
A great coach.
And so much of it just comes back to the commercial aspect of the game, which we obviously talk about a lot. But it went from having the best player in the world to not, and it's not even close between the gap to who's them behind them. But and that's I'm sure they'll do fine from a from a French revenue standpoint, but internationally, that's what drives the game a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the investment in the Premier League is because of international investment. We talk about that all the time, and so France is way behind the ball on that at the moment.
Yeah, and so like Chelsea bought Strasbourg, I think maybe a year and a half ago, and their fans were furious about that, but they're good financially. There's great investment happening in that club, and they performed, I would say, a lot better last season than they would have without Chelsea, like loanees from Chelsea and investment from Blueco. Bordeaux, they might take a look at what's going on at Bordeaux if they're unhappy with the ownership of their club. I'm talking to Strasbourg here, but Bordeaux was they were thought to be on the verge of being acquired by I forget the name of the company, but the conglomerate that owns Liverpool were looking at buying Bordeaux. They backed out of that deal. Bordeaux files for bankruptcy, and as a result of their financial status, they're now relegated to the 4th tier of French football. So
call soccer. Go USA.
So yeah, pretty big news there, I think. But beyond that, I don't know. Was there any other topics you wanted to cover? I think we did a good job filling out an hour here somehow. Yeah.
yeah. Just a lot time the topics that I want to talk about that Ryan would rather I not bring up.
And we say bye-bye.
U.S. plays Germany at noon Eastern time.
Okay.
So I'll probably, I don't know, watch that. I'm recording at some point on Tuesday. But no, I think that's about it, the call out. And then we've still got, I don't know, how many weeks do we have until the start of the Premier League season?
I think it's soon. Chelsea plays Real Madrid. They're gonna get worked. I think that's in LA. In a friendly, yeah. Their final friendly of the U.S. tour, I think, is against Real Madrid, or maybe they have one more after
Tuesday
that.
Tuesday at 7. Oh, I guess I'm contractually obligated to watch that slaughter.
No, I can watch that. You watch the.
That's
the
gonna
other
be
one.
bad. I agree.
Yeah.
It
looks like they play Inter, so they have 2 more preseason friendlies, and then their first match is against Man City on August 18th. So that's the weekend the PL kicks off. There'll be like the Community Shield, I guess, before that.
Yeah.
At some point. That would be City that plays in that, right? So we could see City will play
Man United and City.
Yeah.
I think we know the result of that one.
We think we know. Like United beat them in the FA Cup final.
That's this coming. Okay, so that's this coming Saturday.
Yeah, so we'll have that to talk about. Yeah, Man United, and they're still running on fumes. It's like the moves they make then get injured. Yeah, Lenny Yoro. Oh, so yeah, the confirmed injury for Lenny Yoro. He's going to be out 3 months with a foot injury, and Højlund is out for like a month and a half with a hamstring injury. So they're in bad shape.
On top of that, they've been unable to seemingly move on from players that they absolutely needed to, or should at least, namely Anthony and Maguire, some others. But
they'd love to move Casemiro on.
True,
too.
I forgot he's still there. Yeah, and the one, the one YouTuber was complaining about the wages that they're on makes them all immovable. Which is interesting.
Goldberg probably.
Yeah, was blaming the Glazers for that. Probably gets stomped out by City, so we'll get to watch that.
Did you see? So I thought Calvin Phillips was transferred to West Ham last season. He was loaned by City, and he was playing for City yesterday as a center back.
I incorrectly reported as part of the Derek rumor mill that he was going to get transferred. Then he was like, no, I'm not going. And now he gets to start as the center back in the preseason tour and then ride the bench the entire season. So we'll see how that worked out for him. Garrett South. Meanwhile, Garreth Southgate's just looking perplexed at the TV, wondering what they've done to his boy.
Yeah. Pep just cratering England's chances with all right, well, that's probably a pod. I'm Ryan. That's Derek. This is the Football Yanks. Thanks for tuning in. We would love it if you would like and subscribe and leave a review. All that stuff helps a lot. This is still a podcast we'd like to grow. There's been more movement on the Discord. Views are ticking back up, so we really appreciate it. Hope you guys are liking the content we're putting out there, and yeah, we'll catch you next week. Got anything else, Derek?
Nope. Thanks, everybody.